Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. It is me, Kay, and today we are discussing season 2, episode 5. Are we free? Y'all, this episode was kind of heavy for me. I'm not even gonna hold you. Like, it was just a lot to digest. It was beautifully written though, like the symbolism, the imagery, just like the different things that was going on in the story, especially with the one guy. I can't remember his name, but he was a mental health patient. He said that he had been taking meds since he was 12 and he was still fighting, and he was like, Jace, don't let them do you like this. Whoo, child, talk about tear jerker. Okay. But yeah, so the episode begins with introducing a couple of guys. They all are saying, their basketball ranking in the country and where they're going to school. And so we each see them do their like commitment video or whatever, and then they show them going to the facility. So basically, this episode, the guys are going to play an exhibition game at a youth facility, where some guys are currently detained for some offenses that they've committed. I'm going to probably save Crystal and Jace's piece for the last part of the video, just because I just want to talk about the more serious topics first. So, basically, Swagger DMV decided to do this exhibition game at this youth facility, and because of everything that's going on with Jace, Musa, Drew, and Phil, and them basically confessing to having something to do with Coach Warwick, basically it's just not a good look on the school. And so pretty much the school is in a frenzy because they don't know how they're going to handle it. They don't know how things are going to move forward with them criminally. They don't know how things are going to move forward with them academically. Like, they were talking about expulsions and everything like that. And these guys are seniors. And so this is a big deal because they've played AAU and everything their whole life, to get to this moment, for all of it to probably be taken away because they did something that they felt was right. Now, were the actions that they committed wrong? Yes. But there are a lot of things that are done here in America that are absolutely wrong, but somehow, some way, when it comes to people of color, the cheek is turned. You know what I'm saying? So, basically, the guys are, all of the team from Cedar Cove is trying to play this exhibition game, but a lot of the kids' parents do not want them affiliated with anything that's going on with this game because Jace, like, one parent said that she didn't want her child aligned with those guys because it's a bad look. She did not sign a consent form. And at one point, Nick said that he wasn't going to go, but I feel like Nick was not trying to go out of personal reasons, only because he was mad at what took place because he considered all of them family, especially after, they did a lot to get to where they were, and so Nick decided he wasn't going to go, but then when the bus was about to pull off, he ended up going. Now, what shocked me was Royal being on the bus. When I saw Royal, I was just like, Royal is really trying to like change the narrative, and I was happy about that because, Royal had this, what's the word I could use? He basically had a distrust with them just a little bit because he felt like that they didn't trust him, or he wasn't cool enough, or he was never enough for them. But Royal decided that he was going to be down with the gang. Like, he was going to stand 10 toes with them. He was going to be 10 toes down. So, after all the guys have said all this, Alonzo, the dude from Gladiator Shoes, is helping them get a lawyer, basically. Sorry, y'all. My color keeps changing on camera. Alonzo is helping them get a lawyer because you know some of them cannot afford to attain a lawyer because lawyer fees are mad expensive. CJ's parents decided not to let CJ go to the game. His father, which is Braxton from Jamie Foxx, you know, I just didn't know how I felt about him because I felt like he was being an uncle, you know. I felt it was giving very much coonery. Like I was not feeling him. I was just like, I don't know where I stand with him, but he ended up not letting them go. So the guys are getting on the bus and they're going towards the Maryland Youth Facility. And the first thing we see are fields of cotton. And immediately I was triggered because I'm just like, here we go. They always say that prison is the modern day slavery. And here we go. The first symbol of slavery is cotton. They're going through cotton fields. The first person that we meet, you know, from the penitentiary, besides the people who are coming on the bus with the dogs to make sure there's no drugs and nothing's going into the facility, is Mr. Carlos, who was one of the 3 runners who came from San Jose State. Like they said, he was in the Olympics, and at the time, during the 60s, during the Civil Rights era, there was a lot of tomfoolery going on. Things were not right, and black people were fighting for their freedom. And so him and some of his other teammates took a black glove and stood on the podium during the Pledge of Allegiance or during the national anthem and stood with their fists up. And after that, they were stripped of their medals and told they were not going to be Olympians no more because they stood up for what they believed in. And see, that's the kind of things that sometimes it just don't make sense in this country. Like, all that turmoil could be going on. And it's just, and it goes back to what happened to the players when they went to the diner. They went through that terrible experience, that very, I don't even know if you can say the R word on here, but they were being, it was prejudice, basically. They went through a terrible experience. They went to the game, got on a knee. That's very similar to what they did in the 60s when they stood up with their fists up in the air. Standing up for what they believed in, all to be told that your freedom of speech or your choice is disrespectful and offensive to the country. The same country that's supposed to be land of the free, home of the brave, but people are out here fighting for their rights every day just to be treated like a decent human being. Crazy. But anyway, he lets us know, Mr. Carlos lets us know that currently, at this day, there are more black people in penitentiaries across the United States than there were in modern day slavery times. The scene pops back to Cedar Cove. Alonzo is having a meeting with Mr. Lawson, and basically, I think at first I thought Alonzo was being shysty. But he was really trying to just work and maneuver. You know, he was trying to basically get told what he wanted to get told, but trying to find a workaround. And so basically, Dr. Lawson was basically trying to get them, all those boys, expelled because he said it was tainting the image of the school. And even though, like, the situation that all of the guys in were not the most favorable, you know what I'm saying? It's just the fact that nobody even considered the situation in which they did it. I could see if they was just being troublemakers and just went and jumped somebody. But that man was violating Crystal. And I just don't think that was thought about enough, like, when it came down to everybody. Like, they did that to protect her. Nobody else protected Crystal. And then it's the fact that that dude, that nasty man, did that to her. She still is living with that trauma. And they only gave him like 1 to 2 years in jail. And so he out in the world on probation and could harm another female. Like, that's the part they didn't look at. Like y'all had that man working like around them young girls, being trifling. Like please. But so basically Alonzo was trying to talk to Dr. Lawson and basically just trying to get him to understand what was going on. But all Dr. Lawson cared about was the reputation of the school. He didn't care about the students. He didn't care about advocating for the students. He didn't care what the students was going through. And these are the same students that was bringing all this revenue. Y'all was gassing them students up and was willing to do whatever for them. But time they needed you, you turned your back on them. And I was not feeling that. Phil, I think all of the guys break up and go into different groups. And so Phil and Nick are in a poetry class and they're reading Langston Hughes. And it was a very touching scene with Phil because Phil got up and recited Life Ain't No Crystal Stair in front of the class. And he said that his mom used to read Langston Hughes poems to him all the time over the phone while she was incarcerated. And so I just thought that was a deep scene. I also feel like it was kind of triggering for Phil because Phil wasn't in the system, but he was kind of a victim of the system. And so it was just interesting to see like how all of that played out like on camera. But my boy acted down. Like he acted down. Period. He did his thing on that scene. I was moved, honestly and truthfully. Even though this episode was hard for me to watch, it moved me, honestly. The bees, the second group, I'm trying to think. I think it was Jace and who was it? Jace and Drew, I think. They went to the bee exhibit and there was like a painting on Twitter. Like if you under the swagger hashtag on Twitter, there's like, you know, they showed the little paintings and, you know, the symbolisms for each episode. And so there was like it's a word and it means the fear of bees, but the bees represented like Black people. It was just, you know, if you go on Twitter and read it. But it was just powerful the way they connected the symbolism with the bees and with Black people. And then the whole incarceration thing, it just tied up to make like a beautiful picture. And then come walking up was Vince. And when we first met Vince, I referred to him as Palm Tree because when I first saw him, he had his hair up, his locks up in like this ponytail, and they were like a palm tree. And so when I saw him, I immediately just got emotional because like you grow up with people and you know like their potential, and then something like that happens. And like there was a couple of times like in high school where I knew guys who played football and basketball, and these guys was like top recruits in the state and would get caught up in stuff on the outside, and their whole life would just be changed because of that one decision. And like it just you know, it brought back like memories because you were like, dang, like that person had everything going for him. And then to see Ike's face when he saw Vince, I could just see like he felt like he failed Vince. And I just know because as a coach, like you're with that kid all the time. You're pouring into that kid. You want the best for that kid. And when one of your kids go astray, you feel like you failed. And I guess that's kind of how he felt, Coach felt like even with the situation with Jace and Musa, Drew, and Phil, because he just didn't expect that to happen, especially when he wanted Jace to tell him the truth. He wanted Jace to come to him and let him know because he was willing to fight on Jace's and them behalf to do anything for them. And so Royale and Musa go to a debate class, and in a debate class they talk about whether or not January 1st, 1863 should actually be Independence Day, I think, in comparison to June 19th, 1865. Speaking of 1865, even the bus having 1865 on the back of it being a bus number, top tier imagery, just top tier, like the symbolism. I'm here for it. I'm here for all of it. There is I'm guessing a meeting of the minds. I don't know what this group of people were, but there was a table full of black elites, and they were all sitting there discussing like how much Cedar Codes have changed since they've been there. And typically, I'm guessing Jenna was invited to the meetings, but she never would attend the meetings. So I'm guessing since the situation is going on with Jace and the boys, that she was going to attend the meeting. And with CJ's dad, I was just like, I was like, I just don't see him trying to fight for them, especially because his son was getting a playing time, you know what I'm saying? But then when Jenna fussed all them out and set them all straight, I was like, yes, Jenna, let them know. Like, sometimes I understand you get a little coin, but don't forget you had humble beginnings, and don't forget that other people that look like you, who are not in as fortunate of a situation as you. You talk about elevating and moving up, but don't look down on the ones who need help. You know what I'm saying? So Jenna cussed all them out, let them have it. And you know what? I couldn't even blame her, because she said her son is a B student. He do everything he need to do to be done. And he love his friends, and he willing to do anything for them. Meaning he was willing to do anything for Crystal, and he was willing to take the blunt or the blame for Musa, Drew, and Phil. And so CJ's father comes up to her and says, I don't know how this to go, but your son have been very nice to my son, and he has looked out for him and always, wanted the best, looked out for him, made sure he was always good. And so he said he was going to look out for him. Alonzo is in the car trying to call the DA to see what's up. Like, let me know. But she said, well, we haven't found anything out yet, so there's nothing for me to tell. And so basically Alonzo is trying to, make sure everything is good, because at the end of the day, like, his job is on the line, but he reached his neck out because he believed in the cause. He believed in, what the kids did. And so basically, yeah, everybody was going to try to pull strings to get the kids through, because, not to sound, no type of way, but for the purpose of the story, I knew that Jason M was going to get off. They wouldn't have had the show and have Jason M career, ended, because then they wouldn't have a show. But for the sake of it, like, I knew, like, they was gonna come through for them, because they did it for a just cause. It wasn't just because they was out here being malicious. What else? Swagger plays. They have like this very intense basketball scene, which it was shot to perfection. And the guys really get to see that there is no difference between them and the guys that's on the inside. Like, they all had a dream. They all, worked hard to attain a dream. But there were some circumstances where, a decision can be life-changing. They had the whole beat on the table thing. Like, it just showed camaraderie. And the whole theme of, are you free? Was just a continuing like motif throughout the whole episode. And then Swagger ended up winning by 1 point, but they really bonded, with the guys on the inside, and was able to understand their stories. because a lot of their stories were similar to theirs, especially with Vince being there and them and him tying the two worlds together. It was sad to hear though that Vince was in there. I forgot how long he said he was in there, but he said he had 3 months remaining, and then when he turned 18, he would be transferred to the adult facility where he would have to do one more year. So I hated to hear that, but Jace was so happy to see Vince, hugged his neck tight, and was like, I've been trying to get in contact with you," and it was oh my god, bro, it was sad. It was just sad, bro. But after that touching scene with that guy that they strapped down in the chair, which whoever that actor is, bruh, you did that thing. Like that felt so real. And just to see Jace get triggered by like the way they treated him, like the way they all like jumped on him to tie him down. And then they had to restrain Jace because he got like really emotional about it. Like that, oh my god, I just don't even know what to say. Like, touching. It was really touching. Again, this episode was very heavy for me, hard for me to watch. Everything was just beautiful. It truly was. It truly was. By the end of the trip, the guys, when they were leaving, of course it's starting to rain. You know, they had that one guy who was looking up in the sky. He was telling Drew that it's about to rain and how much he loves the rain because everything washes away with the rain and starts over again. And Meg went and put some money on one of the guys' books because he bet on the game and they ended up losing. So he had lost some of his money to talk on the phone. He lost a week's worth of phone talking money. So Meg went and put some money on his books. And Ike gets a phone call and he said, "Can you text me what you just said?" So the DA was able to get the guys off. They're not going to be charged with anything criminally. They may have to do some community service. They still were suspended from all basketball activities, but in order to be fully reinstated, they had to apologize, make a public apology, which I don't know if it's just me, but I don't think Cedar Cove deserves an apology because they did what they thought was right. But I guess, you know. I just feel like, you know, they was happy. The scene that Musa had with his father was very touching. He prayed and he said he didn't know what to believe, but they prayed and he said, if I, you know, lose sight of the faith, he was like, then I won't have anything left to believe in. And so they all ended up going home and they just looked out the window and saw the guy running out in the rain. Very, very touching. Okay, and last but not least, we're going to talk about Crystal and Jace. Of course, their section happened at the beginning of the episode, but I think their piece is probably going to connect more to next week's episode because I think next week's episode is fully dedicated to Crystal and Jace. Matter of fact, the title of the episode is Crystal plus Jace or Jace plus Crystal. Crystal is there to talk to Jace about what he did, and basically she asked him why he did it and that they were all crazy. Well, I think she called him stupid. He was like, definitely not smart, but you know, they just sat down and talked, and I think that was the first time they had really like sat down and had like a talk because they hadn't talked in a while. And we finally get to find out why they hadn't talked in a while. So supposedly, by the time we wouldn't have seen it on camera, but I think they probably started dating around the time of them going to ninth grade. And I think she said by sophomore year, they decided not to be together no more because they needed to work on themselves. Well, Crystal said she had to work on herself because she was trying to take her game to the next level. And I can't remember what they said happened with Jace, but Crystal ended up telling Jace that her and Roger were on a break. And she asked him about Amber, and she said, "Did Amber break your heart?" And he was like, "No." He was like, "I won't even really into Amber like that." He was like, "But can't nobody really break my heart for real except for one person." And then she was like, "Who?" And he was like, she was like, "Don't even try it. Don't even try it." So I guess, because they dated after being friends, it kind of tainted their friendship a little bit because, like they was best friends and he already had that built-in love for her. And then when they dated and it didn't go exactly the way they wanted to, it kind of put a little bit of a sour taste in both of their mouths. And so I guess they tried to, go back to being friends. But like how sometimes when you date somebody who is your friend, it's a little bit awkward before you can get back to, the way it was. We seen Spencer and Olivia do it and be awkward and weird on All American. So I guess it was kind of like that. But basically, I feel like that was a setup for Crystal and Jace to get back together because the caption on the next episode was like, Crystal and Jace's relationship goes to a new level or something like that. And I'm just like, what new level could it be? They already have dated. They've already been best friends. What more could they do? But yeah, y'all, that's the episode. I hope y'all enjoyed the episode. I really thought the episode was coming out tomorrow on the 21st because that's what the online said. But then when Apple sent out the notification saying the new episode of Saga is already up, I'm like, what? But anyway, like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what y'all thought of today's episode. And if I missed anything, leave it down below in the comments so we can chat about it. Yeah, y'all, I'll be back next week with more videos. Deuces.